Good morning, everyone. Well, how exciting. We have had the announcement. Our next series to do with the Roxy Creations stitchery projects for the 4th volume. I can't believe it's 4 volumes. Wow, what a journey. So the girls have done their videos. If you haven't seen them yet, they're linked below. Now, it's all about a treasure hunt. So I have been brainstorming a heap of ideas. I'm not convinced on any of them yet, but I do know there will be a selection of the ideas that I'm going to present to you. And I'm hoping that as I talk it through with you guys, it'll help me narrow down what I actually do. Now, like most of us, we really don't have anyone of like-mindedness to talk through our ideas. So I think this will definitely help me to, I guess, focus my thoughts because they are all over the place. You can imagine I barely slept all night just with the brain was firing. I watched the videos and I shot off to the craft room and just started dragging stuff out and all sorts of things. So I have slept, but what I've done is I've created a list of potential projects. Now, I think looking at the list, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 projects. Now, whether that expands out to more or less, I don't know. Maybe by the end of this video, I'll have a bit of an idea. First of all, mood boards. This is a memory board that I made for my grandmother when she passed all those years ago. Now, I did a smaller version for all my cousins, all the girls, and it's just a collection of bits and pieces we found in her sewing room. She was a dressmaker. So I've told you many, many times the story of my grandmother and how sewing really brought in extra money for their family. And in the sort of after 50 years of age, into the 55, she really specialised in dressmaking for weddings. So cleaning out her room was a bit of a treasures to be held, and this really represents her. From the Singer sewing machine, this is a locket that's on a leather strap. I'm not sure of its story or who owned it, if it was her or a family member, but I found it in her room, an old pair of scissors, some crocheting that she had done, her Lutheran women's badges of Australia. She was very connected to her church. In the back here is lace from my wedding dress that she made. Then I found little sewing machine oil bottles, a selection of some of the pearls that she used on wedding dresses. I put them in a little glass holder. Picture of Grandma when she was a little girl. She loved tapestries, so I've cut out the colour chart that you would see on the side of a tapestry, added those. There's a mannequin there, a dressmaker's mannequin, which is really sums her up completely. She loved crocheting. Like, if you haven't heard the stories by now, she was a fiend at crocheting. In behind there is a scan of the little pattern of a little basket that she made for me when I was a flower girl for my uncle and aunt. So it was my first wedding, and Grandma crocheted this little basket that I carried down the aisle with some flowers in it. So a selection of some old cottons, some pins from her sewing room. So you can really see how you can put together a mood board pretty quickly if you've got some memories of someone in your family, especially if they were a sewer or a collector of antiques or things like that. So this is part of my inspiration. Now, in here, there's no sewing textiles slow stitch, but what I'm thinking of doing is I've got one of these little frames. Now, these come out of a photo frame. It's a matte board. So what one idea is using this as my mood board, so Grandma, I'd say Grandma's going to roll through a lot of things because I've got all sorts of treasures still from her room. But I thought what I could do is a series of little stitcheries that reflect Grandma and could be framed up with a little panel. So what am I saying? I'm saying that if I had a piece of fabric that was that size, that would be my space to stitch in. So it would pull me into parameters, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that's one idea, using this as my mood board and creating little stitcheries that when I eventually get to hang this on my wall, these would go with it. Now this shadow board in itself would be a great place to put your work. I'm pretty sure I got this from IKEA. Yeah, I'm positive I got it from IKEA. I'll just give you a few measurements because it may be a way that you can showcase your piece. It's 45 centimetres or nearly 18 inches by 33 centimetres or 13 inches. Now that's at least an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter deep. So I thought, yeah, this shadow box would be a lovely way of showcasing your piece if you wanted to make it to a size, like the similar principle of the mat, making it to a size, that way you know it's going to go into something and be safe and ready to hang or whatever. Now, I really think that's got potential. Definitely the little ones, because it'll give me just something small to work on. So that's idea number one. Let's put that to one side. And we'll call that a tribute to Grandma's sewing room. Now, I've just had better write that down because that wasn't on my list as a wording. So a tribute to Grandma's. I knew if I spoke about all this and got it out of my brain, I'd come up with a plan of attack. Tribute to Grandma's sewing room. Now, I have a feeling, like I think I just said, that a lot of these things will drift onto all of the projects. Now, the next thing is Honey Bear. Now, if we're going to go looking for treasures, Honey Bear is my treasure. Now, little Honey Bear, oh, Honey Bear, she's an old girl. She was my teddy. She was gifted to me by my aunt and uncle when I was a young girl. Now, that same aunt and uncle were the ones that Grandma made the little crocheted basket for, and I was their bridesmaid. I can't recall when I got it. They can't remember giving it to me. It was just part of those, it's, you know, a gift for a little girl on her birthday, most likely. Now, Honey Bear, I'm thinking of using her as my base. Now, let's just move Honey Bear to one side. And, oh, gosh, look, we need to do some mending. Why haven't I done that? Terrible. So we need a little stitch or two there. And coincidentally, these little knickers I made with Grandma because we felt Honey Bear needed some knickers, some modesty knickers. So the little dress came with her, but the little knickers I actually stitched with Grandma on the sewing machine when I was young. Now, down the track of using a beloved toy, this is a dolly. I'm pretty sure I've shown it to you in the past. Now, when COVID hit and we were all locked down, I had a kit of this dolly that I picked up at a gift fair. And I thought, I'm going to just do it. Let's get this dolly made. Now, she came with just the basics, the fabrics, and a few adornments like that crocheted necklace, a few bits and pieces of lace, but a lot of it I added to. This was my inspiration for this next project. What I'm thinking of doing is making a slow-stitched outfit for Honey Bear. Now, Honey Bear will keep her original clothing, but over the top of it, I'm thinking about making a dress. And then that dress can have space to add treasures. So that's idea number 2. Now we're writing this down, Corinne. Let me grab my pen again. So honey bear was number 2. What I might do is I'll put a description down below of my ideas so that if you want to have a little read through it at the end, you'll know, what I was talking about. So idea number 1 was a tribute to Grandma's sewing room, and that would be a shadow box or a framed stitchery. Okay. Honey bear, yep, number 2. As for honey bear's theme, that is still in the air. I've got a lot of fabric packs that are treasures that I really should probably get out and use, but I haven't got that far yet. I haven't really dug into the colour schemes of everything, the colour mood boards. I really, just want to try, how am I going to present it, I guess is where I'm at the moment, brainstorming those ideas. Now, if this idea catches your fancy, but you don't have a honey bear, I've come up with a few other little ideas that might work for you. So let's just make a little space here. I went through my patterns. That's the pattern of the Emily doll. So I'll probably revisit the clothing and shrink it down to fit honey bear. The only other thing I might want to add to this is maybe a vest, but I have a feeling there's a lot of space there that would give me plenty of room to work. So I think that's the dress I will put on honey bear. Now this pattern, these are little angels. Now can I bring them up to the counter? See how they're little angels and their hands touch, and then there's little hearts. Now you might be able to track this pattern down, but there's heaps of little flying angel patterns around. See, there's a sketch of it. So that gives you a bit of an idea of its shape. Another idea was you could think of people, friends and maybe some loved ones that have passed, and you could dedicate a little stitched dolly to each one, which would be your treasures from that person. So that was another little idea that's floating around, these little angel dolls. Now the other one I picked up, this is an old pattern that makes teddies. Now, remember when signature bears were all the rage? Now, I Googled Spotlight used to sell them, and they still do. So you can buy a calico bear of this similar sort of shape, already made, straight off the shelf in a couple different sizes from Spotlight. So I'm guessing Michael's in America and some of those bigger chains might have them already made. So you wouldn't even need to find a pattern and make your bear. But a bear, a stuffed bear, would be a great place to attach treasures, especially of the textile and lace nature. So I thought I'd just grab that pattern. Whether you can find this one, there's the number and the brand, but there'd definitely be teddy bear patterns out there. You could make a calico bear and then go from there. This is a kit that I haven't yet made. It's a giraffe, Ellie. Everything I'd need is in there. I just thought I'd show you that. So there's heaps of toy patterns and potential. I guess you just need your character, and then the clothing becomes the spot that you capture your treasures. So that's idea number 3. Where's my pencil gone? Better write a number 3 next to that. No, that's honey bear. That's still number 2. Okay, getting ahead of myself. It's still the extension of honey bear. All right, honey bear, you're going to go. She's definitely going to be a project because she looks like she needs a makeover, and I think I would thoroughly enjoy making some doll's clothes. Now, idea number 3. Now, just putting a number 3 next to it so I remember. Let's go to my book, Mandy Pattullo. The girls were talking about her. This would have to be the most tagged book that I have. I just love her style as well. It's not really my style. If anything, I'm not free enough in my stitching. I'm a little bit too, everything's precise and it's got to match and it's got to, I love how Mandy sort of pushes my boundaries a little bit when I look through her book. It just, yeah, I don't know. I find it very liberating. It's very free in her style, and it's her style in itself. So I just thought I might flip through this because there's an idea in here that caught my eye straight away. So if you don't have this book, the details will be down below, but it's not a bad starting point of just, I don't know, thinking outside the box, I'm going to call it, because Mandy does that. And these are literally layers of treasures, little pieces of embroidery, pieces of textile. Yeah, beautiful. If I was going to do something textile based, it'd have to be my French fabrics. And in this sort of style, how I would present it, that's the challenge. The French recent textile tour, well, that's a given. That's definitely right up my alley. All my YouTube friends that are on channels of their own, they were straight away texting me going, oh, this one's right in your ball court. And it definitely is. But how do I present it? I'm doing rice bags. I've made a postcard wrap. So the third project connected to these concept, how do I present it? That's the golden question. Anyway, moving along. She's just, I love how she then places the fabrics. Can you see the embroidery over the top? See that flower? French General. Oh, it's so beautiful. Do I apply this scenario to this? Make windows, snippets of imagery. Then how many frames do you want on a wall? You know, this is the challenge of it all, isn't it? Something to think about. So there'll definitely be a French, let's call that idea number 4, French finds. We'll come back to that one. Let's just keep flipping through here because I haven't covered off on idea number 3. Like, look how she's used her finds to make a little bird, layers of fabrics. But of course she has a sketchbook where she throws the idea around and then it turns into that. That in itself is a lovely project. So let's say the girls give us a prompt. We then go to our sketchbook, we draw it, we add some samples in and then turn it into a stitchery. That in itself is a whole brilliant little, I don't know what to say. Do we write that down as number 5 idea? Yep, we will. So I'm going to put here sketchbook. That then leads to a textile project. That would test us. So we'd make a journal and then into a piece of textile. Wow. That's beautiful. Now, let's stay focused, Corinne. Like, seriously, it's hard, isn't it? I've got this ear tagged at a certain spot, which is idea number 3. Let's just get to that and stay focused on it. I see, like, wool work. I really love my collection of Sanderson fabrics. My only problem with that is the application. They are big. Like, how big do you really want to go? How do you present it? See, we keep coming back to maybe that's number 6 idea. What are we at? I'll just put Sanderson fabrics. Now they're popping up everywhere, all over Etsy, so you can certainly, if you love that style, and Melanie from Purveyor of Textiles, she has the most gorgeous snippets of Sanderson fabrics. But how do we present it? What are we making with them? Are they going into a journal? Are we embellishing them? See, yeah, wool embroidery of Sanderson fabrics. Anyway, I still haven't got to idea 3. This brought me back to Grandma. Now, my grandmother was also into tapestries, so I have quite a few tapestries in the cupboard that I've just never framed. And then I thought, well, look at this idea, working fabric treasures around a tapestry that someone's created in your family. Oh, let's put that down. Number 7, framing needlework. So this could be applied to, let's say you've got a doily that someone's made. Well, you could use that as your feature and then frame it with your treasures or treasures connected to that person. So I thought that was a brilliant idea as well. Where's the number 3? So I still haven't found number 3 and we're up to number 7. For goodness sakes. See what I mean? And you're wondering, oh, no wonder the girl didn't sleep last night. It must be, look at that, it's an iron. Anyway. I know I'm probably flipping through fast here and you guys are like, slow down, we want to see the book. Go and buy the book because it is such a source of inspiration. Okay, I'm coming up to it surely. Where are you? Lace book. Now, back to Grandma. I know my projects are going to be centered around my grandmother. They have to be because that's where most of my treasures have come from. So, in here is a lace sketchbook. Now, it's using some wool blanket and then creating little pieces of stitchery to go into a lace sampler book. And I just think this is gorgeous, which brings me to item number 3. Of course, we've already jumped ahead a bit. I have this book that I got from Rachel a little while ago, and I've just been treasuring it and keeping it. And I thought, maybe it's time to have a play. Now, once again, I'm back to Grandma. So I would put in a floating spine. The only thing is I have this beautiful writing in here. So I'm just not sure what I would do with that because I wouldn't mind seeing it. So maybe I need to consider a concertina style lace book so that it would pull out and I would still see this. So I've got a bit of thinking to do with this. It's so old and so gorgeous. So this would be, once again, based on Grandma and the lace that I've collected and crocheting. Now, this little stash just here is out of her sewing basket. I grabbed her sewing basket as we were tidying up her dressing room, not her dressing room, her sewing room, and there were these little treasures in there. They are very old crocheting patterns. Now, I have been able to actually match, so 1945, some of the doilies I've got in my cupboard are actually the pattern and the doily, so I've got like the set. So I could really do with somewhere to put all of these little treasures. So that's a bit of an idea. See, look, there's some little pins. Isn't it gorgeous? I bet they're rusty. They're probably not because they're good quality. They would rust if they were from today. So if I was to do a lace journal and somehow incorporate some of these little treasures. 1939, the Australian Home Journal. Look, the lady's playing tennis. 1939. Now, there must have been something here that caught her eye. Yeah, there's a little lace luncheon set. Don't think it's that jumper. Oh, here it is. Lace luncheon set. There we go. Oh, love this style of crocheting. Oh. So I could nearly do with a journal that has some pockets in amongst it to hold all of these little delicate treasures. 1947. $1938. I won't open them all up because they're pretty delicate. 1940. I love it when a handwriting's on the bottom of it. Can't read it. Good morning, Pepper. Now, look at that. It'd be lovely to find a home for these things. So if we're talking treasures, now, I don't know what this is. Oh, I think it's when they, yeah, the Sunday Mail, Queen Street, Brisbane. Look at that. It's got Grandad's name on it, Stan Reinbott. Oh, Grandma. Now, these, I believe, were pattern clubs. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, isn't that pretty? Printed in Australia. So I'm not sure if they paid a subscription or there was a pattern in the Sunday Mail and the ladies could then send away for it. I'd say, okay, so there's some information. Oh, that's just what you can use to actually crochet the piece. Oh, look at it. She's so delicate. Okay. So see what I mean? Treasures. So let me just close this back up before I have a hang of a mess. There's a second one there as well. So I could certainly do with a journal to hold these treasures. How this would connect to the prompts, I don't know. Maybe the prompts will have to drift according to the project I'm doing because it's all about treasures, but then maybe it might be a colour prompt, it might be an object. So therefore I'd go to the project that best suited those prompts. And I think that's why having a few projects might be the way around the project in its entirety. Does that make sense? So that is the crocheted treasure idea. Now that's before I even start looking at some of the books. Now I can crochet, but very simple patterns for blankets. I've never really got into doilies, let alone some of these delicate things, and I can't see myself getting into doilies, but I could see myself getting into crocheted edges because you only need to do a little bit. So, oh my goodness, what's in here? 1946, of course, more patterns. Like seriously, pinwheel. I could probably pull off a pinwheel. I could definitely pull off some of these edges. So that was another idea. If I did a crocheted lace journal as a tribute to these treasures. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? She would have made some of these, I'm sure, for the local church, for sure. Gosh. So that's another idea I'm toying with. I have pages and pages of patterns. I have heaps of books. Wouldn't it be nice to rummage through all of this and create a treasure of crocheted memories? Now, that's just the crocheting category. I could also do something with lace in general, because I've got so many elements of lace that have come off collars and cuffs, and so there's nearly 2 books here, a crocheting one as well as a lace one. Do I combine it? I have a fantastically thick spine here. I believe there's a second book in there too that I got from Rachel, so maybe, or do I do more of a fabric thing? Who knows? So number 3 is a book to hold treasures of crocheting and lace. So that's number 3. All right, I don't think there was anything else in this that caught my eye. Well, there's heaps of things, like where do you start? All right, another author that's worth having a thumb through. You may already have Tilly Rose's books. She is another one that uses treasures in all of her work. So if you're wanting inspiration, she's another one that you could really find something that inspires you. And even if it's just starting to lay down techniques to get you started. Now, I'm not going to dig too deep into my books. I just thought I'm going to pick 2 of my favorites and just have them around me to sort of help focus my ideas. Anyway, let's put them to one side. So let's pop the crocheting in there. So what have we done so far? We've got the mood board of Grandma's sewing room and small stitcheries that come from that. We've got Honey Bear and doing something on her. What theme and what colour, I don't know yet. We've also got the opportunity to do a lace-inspired journal. So trimmings of lace and leading into crocheting as well. Now, France. My final ideas are how to present my French finds. Now, I've picked up a couple pieces from a pack that, my head is just spinning. I can't even form my words. See this here? This is feed sack that's been mended, and I got it from Lisa Maddock. She has vintage market days, flea market days on her website where she uploads treasures that she's picked up in France. So it merges in nicely with everything that I have so far. And I'm going to have to say, I'm going to have to do some French treasures stitched. And this piece is screaming out for me to do more on. Now, I really want to do something blue. Now, I'll show you why. Sorry, guys. In my little stash of French fabrics that I bought back, that's it there, you'll be pretty familiar with it. I haven't yet played with the blue. That there. Everything I've got is very red. So my thoughts are, do I do a mix of the blue and the red? Do I just go with the blue? That then would make me go hunting because I don't have much in the way of the blue fabrics. I really just focused on the reds, which I'm sort of doing lots of projects with anyway. So this is project number where are we at? Oh, back at number 4. French finds the grain sack piece. And that's what come to mind because we've got blue. The other thing that I've got in here is those old pieces of toile. Now, if we're going to talk treasures, oh gosh, we've got to do something with these. See these? That one and that one. So, French finds. There's definitely going to be something come of all of that. So that's project number 4. Project number 5. That was the idea that I saw in the book of having a sketchbook where whatever the prompt is, you sketch it first. You add maybe watercolors or play with some fabric markers and, you know, really get in amongst the paper side of things and then transfer it into an actual piece of embroidery. So that's when a little frame comes back. So you build a sketchbook of memories or treasures and then it converts into a stitchery. So that's number 5 idea. You can see how some of these could blend together. They really could. Now, Sanderson fabric. I haven't really dug out my collection of Sanderson fabrics, which is pretty much from Melanie, purveyor of Textiles. Now, I might just stop. No, I won't stop the camera yet because I'd like to find my pack, my little pile, and show you some Sanderson fabrics and what could be done with that. But before we get to the number 6, which is the Sanderson fabrics, another treasure, I just want to pull out the needlework idea. Now, remember I said framing needlework? It was the picture of the tapestry and you build around it. Well, that sort of brings in this project. So create a panel from an incomplete embroidery. Now, you may have a doily that never got finished. Well, that becomes your panel. You may have a doily that you've picked up that has all the cottons and never been stitched. That becomes your panel. So this piece here, I'm not convinced it's suitable for my project. So we're talking, this is probably number 7 because I'd written down framed needlework. So in the Mandy book, there was the tapestry with all the fabric around. Now, this I picked up in France. It is, I believe, cutwork. So all these little X's are to be cut out. So you would embroider it and then cut it out. My thoughts is, could I collage this with my French fabrics? Do I have enough French fabrics? Probably not. But I do have a bit of lace. I do have French. I could probably source some more. I know Susanna's on her way back from the UK in the next day or so. She has picked up lots and lots of fabrics from the UK as well as France. So there's potentially getting some packs from her. I know she's promised to do some fabric packs up. So there's an opportunity that the idea of framing needlework that Mandy's done, I could do something on this panel. Another idea. See what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Just goes on and on. So along the same veins of having a piece that you work onto, a pre-printed panel, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I have this owl. I haven't even opened it because I've been saving it for a rainy day. Now, if you can't get your hands on an old panel like this, or an old embroidery, this one you should find around the place. It's based on a whole series of crewel work projects. Now this owl is called Maureen. It's part of a book series and a heap of different animals that you do crewel work on. And I picked it up a couple years ago. No, it wasn't a couple of years ago. It's probably only about 18 months. Now, the thought for this is because it's pre-printed, I could inlay into this treasures and stitching. And because I've got all this space around it, it potentially could be the focal point. So depending on what the girls' prompts are, they get stitched in around, and at the same time I embroider the owl and then lay into the owl. In my head I'm thinking lace and trimmings and all sorts of things to make a three-dimensional piece. So just another idea. Like, isn't it crazy? How much time do I have? Oh boy. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to do out of all of these ideas, but at least we've got some ideas. So let's start from the top again. We've got number 1, a shadow box with some small frames or big frames, a shadow box to present treasures. So it could be anything from 3D elements to stitcheries to bits and pieces. And at least you've got a perimeter to work within your box. So go and buy a shadow box and that's the space you're working in. So that's my first idea. Number 2 was Honey Bear, giving her a makeover, being that she is a national treasure in herself. Number 3 was the lace book, focusing on crocheted edges and lace and going into a journal scenario and somewhere to keep some of those very, very delicate little pieces of paper morsels. So it would be a combination of fabric and paper journal. Number 4, France. My recent trip to France and how do I present those fabrics, those treasures. Number 5, a sketchbook that leads to a textile project. So you can see how they sort of can blend a little bit. Number 6, Sanderson fabrics. I don't think I need number 6. I think I've got enough. We're going to leave Sanderson fabrics out of this, so you won't see that on the list. Like, it's not even on the pile in my table, so that tells you it's out. I think that's another day. So let's make framing needlework, which is number 7 is now number 6. So framing needlework is finding something that is pre-printed. So I've got my notes here. Something that's pre-printed that you then embellish, whether it's a doily or a tapestry or a pre-printed panel like this owl. Yeah. Did I have any other things written down? Well, I've written down tribute to Grandma. So that's sort of, I think the Grandma tribute for them from the sewing room is going to drift across all projects. Whether all prompts will suit each project, I suspect not. And I found that with Journey Down the Garden Path. Some of the prompts, I was a little bit restricted to the piece that I'd created. Some of those snippet rolls just couldn't fit every single prompt. So having 4 projects going, I thought gave me a little bit more flexibility creatively so that the prompt could pop up wherever. And that is certainly the case, I think, with this one, because what if the prompt's a metal key? Now, I've got a metal key, but it wouldn't fit in something like this, but it would fit say in a shadow box scenario. It probably would fit in the lace book because I could use it as a tie around the book. So these are the sort of, I guess, you got to give yourself a little bit of wriggle room in what you choose to present or how you choose to present your project. Let me just bring back this Mandy book. Actually, we'll just go to Tilly Rose. This journal here is gorgeous in the way that she's stitched all of these treasures together to create her cover. So the cover of a journal could just have so many treasures stitched onto it. So much to think about, guys. So many projects that could come from this. It's genius. Genius, girls. All right. The last thing I wanted to show you was if you're thinking about a panel for a wall, like the girls are thinking of doing, you could also consider a table runner. And each section within your table runner was a tribute to the treasures. So, for example, let's say you used a frame like this as your space. Let me measure that for you too. I think it's very standard as in the picture frame that it came from. So the picture frame in inches is a 10 by, I'm going to say 8 at a guess. Yeah, 10 by 8. But with the mat, you're down to 6 3/4 by 5. So that's a great space for one per week. Could go into a frame, or they could be the panels that make up a table runner. So just another idea on the presentation of it. Now, another idea that I haven't written down, but I might. Let's do, where do we get up to? We need number 7, the tin. Now, I picked up this pack of fabric. Probably, I don't know. When did I pick it up? When do I not pick up fabric? This has got a bit of a French theme about it. It's called Altair. It's by 3 sisters. Now, I thought this has been sitting in my cupboard. Maybe I could make something that came out of the tin. Now, Rachel briefly touched on this as an idea she's considering as well. She's got some of those beautiful fabric covered boxes. And I thought, well, maybe my French fabrics could be in a tin that comes out. You know, the project comes out of a tin. And maybe this is a really good way of bringing in some more colour and influence. I don't know. Well, thank goodness we have a month to think about it. Thank goodness. Gosh, I hope I don't come up with any more ideas, for goodness sakes. What are we at? 7. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining me. Thanks, everyone, for letting me just thrash my ideas around. What I'll do is I'll write them down in the description below so that you can have a little look through them again. And there might just be something there that just sparks something for you. Now, before we go, let's just say our goodbyes to Honey Bear. Honey Bear is a definite. If I do one thing, it's going to be give Honey Bear a makeover. She could do with some new clothes. And I haven't made doll's clothes since I was a very little girl. So I think, Honey Bear, you are number 1. All right, guys. I'll leave you in peace and have a lovely day. Enjoy the thinking process and the mood board creating process. Gosh, I haven't even got to that. I've got to narrow down what I'm going to make first, let alone what colour I'm going to make it in. So that'll be a video for another day. All right. Goodbye, Honey Bear. See you, everyone. Bye.